Hi everyone, I'm Airier, and today we're going to be looking at Text Talks Battletech the Warhammer. Now, last time around, we saw the Baron, the giant pile of wasted money and potential, and all the cool stuff that doesn't work yet, demonstrating why hyper cutting edge is not always good. And people have been telling me we're getting the juxtaposition here for something that should have been more powerful, should have been way more technologically advanced by comparison to the Warhammer, which is just good. We're getting an expression of what is one thing by comparison to the other. What is good versus what is really cool, but also not actually able to keep up. Also, a lot of really freaking cool space battles that are like freaking cool, man. Sorry, I am a space battle junkie, and that was neat. I'm hoping there's more. If there's only mech battles, I'm also okay with that, because I'm also a mech junkie. Who'd have thought? You guys know the deal. There's a link below to the original video. Hit it up. Also, as the time I'm recording this, the Black Pants Legion just is recovering from a hack of their entire channel, so if you can, literally go down there, hit up the videos. They need that to help get their analytics back in gear. Do that, please. It'll actually help. Let's get started.
Rebuilding a portion of the destroyer fleet is one thing. Rebuilding armies and nations, that's another. The Warhammer stands apart in this era, as it isn't trying very hard to be a trendy next-gen warfighting platform or
which is funny, because at least on the sheer aesthetics of it, it's very much... I'm not sure who actually replaced or was before Catalyst. I know I've heard it before, but I've actually completely dropped the name. It looks really freaking trendy, but that's more just designed out of lore rather than in lore.
Anything remotely approaching the cutting edge. The Warhammer is not a high-end product of high-tech all-or-nothing engineering, or an attempt to push the envelope of what is possible, or to even redefine what conflict is. Unlike its many peers in this early, formative era.
I just realized what this is in a functional term. This is a Honda by comparison to a Ferrari, isn't it? A Ferrari is going to be really freaking cool and go really freaking fast. And you'll never afford it. And it will break if you breathe on it too heavily. As opposed to a Honda, and like you can beat the absolute mother-loving, well, anything out of that thing. And there's going to be parts to replace it, and it'll probably hold up even if you do that. Seriously, they survived me. That is impressive. It shouldn't be, but it sadly is.
Era of battle mech design. It wasn't trying to be a game changer. The Warhammer stands out for a very different reason.
It works.
In an age of excess, it is the end result of an engineering approach called good enough.
Yep.
The Warhammer is, above all other things, a celebration of practicality in an age of true excess, of wiser minds taking full heed of the expensive and costly
love the art they chose for this.
Humanity's past.
I love the hyper dark,
applying
like gritty, almost charcoal style.
And with that in mind, the story of the Warhammer begins with a series of barely known mech designs, and a company eager to
barely
get a
known
piece of the big time in the aftermath of the Mackie and all that followed. So let's talk about
this was an early design.
Industries.
Wait, all of that was just part one? Holy shit. Part two, the Star Corps way of business, or military-industrial cooperation? No, these words are that exact phrasing in this order together. I just didn't realize this was functionally and grammatically possible. Huh. The more you know?
With lessons like the Baron playing out in then recent, or worse, then current memory, the military-industrial complex was split. Lessons like the Baron demonstrated that going all in might not work, or worse, might inspire a peer power to develop something that actually did, for a lot cheaper and far sooner than your ultimate weapon was even ready.
Again, this is why you do prototype ships that have all the crazy experimental stuff that you know are going to break, and you have one. Just one. And if it works, you take what works, and if it breaks, you get rid of what breaks. That's how you do prototyping. It's literally why it's called a prototype. Honestly, the biggest problem with the Baron isn't so much the Baron, it's the fact that they just decide, hey, we're going to make all of them all at once immediately. That right there is the death knell of any dumb idea, and takes it from a death knell to, well, the Baron. The rest was also stupid, but that was the first part.
Sure, you could go all in and make sweet money building weapons that might not work.
And again, money is why they did it. Makes sense.
Around whoever used them. Or you could keep your feet on the ground in this realm we shall call reality, and do what you can to get by. Or...
Sorry, we're talking about reality in a mech space sci-fi space opera while looking at pictures of exploding starships just bursting out from underground fire or internal fire, be something on the inside that seems to have blown an engine because of the shots right here. Honestly, the engine blowing did more damage, which makes sense because engine. Yeah, just that moment of, this makes sense. It really shouldn't, but it does. I like that. Where the verisimilitude is very good.
This was an age of rapid arms proliferation, and competition was rampant. You built better weapons platforms in a gamble to be the first, the best, or the greatest. Or you made parts for those who did.
And the gamble was always a bad idea, though, because a lot of people lose.
To try to make the perfect battle mech.
I mean, if you win, it's nice, but most people don't win.
Or at least something different to offer the great houses of the inner sphere. Many companies tried their best to ally with one house or another, all trying to play their part of the great game.
But
to tell the truth, Starcore was not the sort of company that had ever gone all in on anything.
Wait, Starcore is actually the name of this company? Oh, I thought it was like just the Terran Hegemony's Corps of Engineers. I mean, with a name like Starcore, it's what I was going with.
Except for fucking money.
Theron's.
Starcore Industries was one of those companies that had profited handsomely from the Mother Doctrine.
Oh.
In fact, Starcore had become wealthy and influential enough to maintain not only a headquarters within the hegemony itself, but had cleanly rebranded with satellite...
Mother Doctrine. Oh, is the Mother Doctrine the one prior to the fall of the Terran Federation? Whatever came prior to the houses becoming the houses and the splintering that led to, well, the time frame we're currently at, which is still very far in the past. Or was the Mother Doctrine... I know Texas talked about this one. It's bugging me.
Headquarters soon enough in every major power in the inner sphere.
So they went wide.
I point out satellite offices and local friendly
quantity is a quality all its own.
Important reasons.
Still weird to see the Federated Sun small.
Was poised to sell any product directly to the customer as soon as they could come up with one, while avoiding any sort of serious scrutiny from the hegemony itself. 2, Starcore.
Oh, sorry. Text goes on an entire thing about how everyone has them. Everyone has them. Lau has them even. Dracana's Combine.
From the hegemony itself.
Nope. Just that little bit of visual storytelling that is a joke in its own right. And is only punctuated because if Text wasn't talking about how they went everywhere, this joke wouldn't make sense. It would be like, okay, so they sell to everyone. Why are you showing us what we are now? Because the one exception he makes a joke about just by nope and moving on. It's that little punctuation of what you expect that makes it funny. That's well done.
2, Starcore was positioned to see what each house's military was developing, fielding, and testing.
Makes them very good at selling what people need.
Patient, Starcore would see what was actually needed, and then exploit that need in the name of great and glorious fortunes.
Yep.
And 3, which is perhaps most critical, it signaled Starcore's way of pushing forward into what was now the greatest era of mech proliferation in history. This was potentially the arms race of arms races, and they were on the ground floor.
And also, they're doing this at a time period where basically stealing ideas from the competition, well, not the competition, but your potential buyers to their potential enemies, and is very important. Actually makes sense, because if they had done this prior to the SLDF, it'd be like, why are you stealing state secrets and selling the better mech that we want to the enemy? But technically, since they're all under the Star League together, it's not the enemy unless they sold to the Taurians. Tarians. Taurians? Taurians. I keep wanting to say Turians. I know I'm wrong. I've heard the name really plenty of times. Mass Effect's in my head, man. Yeah. But it works because they're in a position where taking that information from all of their different offices is something they could do without being, executed as traitors. Yeah, that would be a thing. So if this hadn't happened at any other time but during the Star League, it would not have been possible. It's kind of cool how that bit of information they're grabbing is only possible due to circumstances that just happened relatively recently in the universe. Also, and again, doing the massive art. And the Shadowhawk looking almost as tall as the Atlas. I mean, I know the size is hyper escalated because they do that a lot with this art in this time period, but the Shadowhawk almost looking like it's on par with the Atlas in terms of size. That is also weird.
But rather than ally with a single house or single interest, or go all in to develop a weapon that may never work, they played the entire field, and carefully so.
Oh.
Being partnered with each of the great houses.
Ooh, what's this from?
For anything
Previous MechWarrior
money,
game? That's a lot
the
of
company was
Warhammers.
very interested in the design and production of two of the earliest Avion
Oh, it's a
mech
design factory or
prototypes,
production factory
the
because they're attached to the
Battletech
arm.
and the Hammerhands. Little
What?
did they know, this specific interest from one of their satellite offices would change the world as we know it.
Ooh. So which mech did he say again? I was distracted by pretty art. Also, I don't realize what... Are these Warhammer variants? They kind of have the general look, but they look very different after that. Dude.
Prototypes, the Battleaxe and the Hammerhands.
Oh, this was the Battletech and Hammer, and these are the actual mechs he was talking about. Okay, that makes sense. They really do look like Warhammers, and I guess as precursors, it does make sense.
Little did they know, this specific
I don't know if I
interest
can find
from
them
one of
still.
their satellite offices would change the world as we know it, or at least the modern concept of the heavy mech. Watching and learning what the customer wants by seeing what they desperately try to develop and build on their own is pretty smart. It's also free because you're watching somebody else fuck up and then taking the lessons home for later.
I heard the Scorpion was that bad just because it can't torso twist, so it's just not a very good platform, which is weird because tanks like this, and let's be honest, it's more of a tank than anything else. It's a tank with legs. Turrets aren't, that crazy an idea. It's just the turret has the legs rather than the body has the legs. I still like the design. I just don't think they're good. And then the Bellerophon, why does it have a nuke in there? Why does it have the nuclear symbol? Is it like more than the usual fusion cells? Or do they go fission for this one instead? I mean, the mech looks cool. I have no idea about this one, but considering Tex is mentioning it this way, it's probably a horrible failure. But goddamn, does it look like a really cool, horrible failure that has what looks like 2 Gauss rifles, maybe? Nice. I mean, I'm a fan of Gauss rifles. Giant stick go
I
boom.
believe this is what the ancient Greeks called wisdom. The principle was simple enough and exceptionally low risk. StarCorps would, through their satellite offices, offer a license to Gemini design products through their shell corporations. Did I say shell corporations? I meant alleged shell corporations operated by regional offices that were legally similar to but distinct from StarCorps.
And that's how they got away with it. Not even just that it was the Star League, which probably did play a lot because no one would buy that polite fiction otherwise, but because they're literally giving themselves the polite fiction in the first place of, they don't actually belong to us. We're not money laundering. We're design laundering. I mean, being completely legal citizens trying to one-up our definite competitors who look just like us and kind of behave with us and maybe answer the same guys in charge. Yeah. Oh my God. It's funny because that's a thing that does happen already in reality. People just have different brands if their main one is non-palatable in a certain location. So this is kind of a thing. Also, I just want to move this in because I can. Yeah, I got a camera that can do that now. It's neat.
There, now sue me. They could also, through supply chain integration and ingratiating themselves with the local governments, again through detached sister corporations and many layers of legal fuckery, observe the military-industrial complexes of their potential customers and competition. They could, without spies or subterfuge, with merely a handshake and a good suit, gain access to the highest levels of military affairs and take the pulse of future war planning.
The fact that they were allowed to do this is just hilarious to me. The fact that there's no other maybe people thinking we need to get rid of them because they know too much is surprising. I'm assuming their biggest buyer and maybe one of their supporters had to be either the Terran Federation itself, because I'm sure that, or maybe the actual Starleague flat out, because it doesn't make sense otherwise. It just would be way too much, because that's just so much power not in control of the people who usually want it. Because I'm pretty sure this is during Starleague era.
They could offer their expertise and application of industrial know-how to actually solve their customers' problems for them. If the price was right, that is. The trick was waiting for a niche, then exploiting the hell out of it, which is the way the arms race was going. They wouldn't have to wait long at all.
Oh?
The Davion's first indigenous design, the Battleaxe, came out a few short decades after the Mackie. For its time, it's a brilliant design worthy of study. Unlike many of its contemporaries, it's not a Mackie copy or a quickly built shitbox to make a few bucks.
Oh, this is one of the very early designs. I'll be honest, I wasn't expecting that considering how bulky the Mackie was. This one looks way more cut down and functional, but also heavily mechanical based on the arm design, that massive joints there. Usually there's a more fiber oriented because of the various, well, fibers holding things together. Mylinar? I'm probably getting the name wrong.
It was a platform purely for testing in many ways, acting as a prototype for further mech development through the application of field study and limited deployment. It is also one of the earliest examples I can find of a dedicated heavy mech that doesn't make me want to throw things at it.
So this is actually a good mech early on. 70 tons. Starguard X, which I'm assuming for this age is not that great, but sounds cool. Dav 280. I like faster engines, but for a heavy, you're going more range, so it doesn't matter as much. 2 Donald PPCs. I don't know what the Donald part is, but 2 PPCs, 2 LRMs, and an SRM6. 15-hole heat sinks. Wow. Intended use. Provide your own government that you know how to build a weapons program that isn't the Baron. So it's literally not so much a proof of concept of proof of please don't fire us. A perfectly valid reason.
Further, it was continually improved from prototype, field trials, and through multiple production run models as Davion's own mech engineers taught themselves what a battle mech is and what it can be with the right mindset. Over the course of its short lifespan, this 70-ton mech had its overall speed and maneuverability significantly improved, component weight reduced, and reliability problems tackled.
Or is this the
it was primitive by
top
any
version here?
reckoning. Hell, the original prototype had a prototype power plant, but it was beautifully armed for the era.
I mean, prototype
the weapon
prototype
of
makes
choice
sense.
for Davion was, at that point, the very best and latest in weapons, the PPC, which I can get behind.
I mean, yes, but also Davion being the cutting edge of weapons, that sounds so weird. I mean, I guess they're a much smaller group at this point, so it makes sense that they could do that, but I don't... It sounds... How to put it? It's like saying the Lyrans were really desperate for money because they were always running short. It's that sentence that doesn't really fit. Maybe it's just me.
The Battle Axe had 2 of them, and even jump jets, and a full array of short and long-range missiles.
Yeah,
Though
good range,
the Battle
good
Axe was
shooty,
imperfect,
good blow hippie, good
Davion
movement.
engineers refused to give up and tried again.
Kind of want to get a model of it.
Hammer Hands was an attempt by House Davion to fix the Battle Axe. They had stretched the Battle Axe as far as they thought it could go, and with those lessons learned, they applied it in a second, vastly refined and arguably better mech design.
Oh, seriously?
While not a clean sheet redesign with something completely different, they instead kept what worked and discarded what didn't. This is also the mech
That's how you improve
pretty much
things.
starts autocannon fever among some Davion pilots.
What?
It has 2 AC-10s. In 2459, that was a pretty big fucking deal. The Hammer Hands was actually made.
I mean, it becomes a big deal again when no one has guns at all, but details.
With feedback from the pilots, maintainers, and officers who had driven or worked on the Battle Axe in order to make the successive mech a better weapon. Observations from its limited deployment were directly incorporated into its design process. Because Davion does that. Because yes, they actually care for the most part. And yes, that is what makes them so goddamn annoying. Every soldier has the right to complain. And amazingly, House Davion reads those complaints and then does something about them.
Is that just text being text, or is that actually canon? That they have a complaint department that actually functions, that isn't a trash can and a quick one-up to the, you're about to be reassigned to the front line of a battle we didn't know we were fighting, so you're the only person. Division. Okay, wow. Actual taking criticism? I mean, I didn't think they were bad, but that's... People don't do that in reality, man. Like, even in reality, you don't do that. No wonder this is a freaking sci-fi. This isn't even sci-fi anymore. This is a flat-out fantasy, man. If a dragon jumps in here, it's still more believable than a massive, let's be honest, enlightened monarchy or enlightened autocrats who are basically running this, even if it's early on, because it's still been hundreds of years, listening to feedback. It just, yeah, we're in Fantasyland. This is completely insane. I love it, but it's insane.
All the while, StarCorps watched and took notes while Ashinar, the state-supported and oldest-founded mechworks in the Federated Suns, tried its hardest to show that it, too, was as capable as the hegemony had been. This development of actually designing useful products based on the failures of previous products while balancing the needs of the end user is rare in the military-industrial complex.
Anywhere?
Globally,
Swear, anywhere.
But rare. So if nothing else, let's give David...
No, seriously, I need to definitely make a point of that. Everything he's talking about, like doing all that good design work based on what you know someone needs, like all of that, that's not rare in just the military-industrial. That's just rare. Normally it's, here's my idea. I'm a genius. And if it works, you are. And if it doesn't, you're not. And if any point of that, it actually matters, it never actually comes up. It's literally ends-based approval of previous aspects. So if you succeed, you were the genius your ego thought you were. And if you don't, obviously I misunderstood and no one understood it. If you fail, again, no, you're just an idiot. If you succeed again, that previous one was just a fluke. I was always a genius. You can think of a few people who live to that exact phrase of design philosophy, and I'm not going to say any names, but, yeah.
Maybe on a hand for being rational in this age of madness, and then let them go back to being smug. Anyways, the Hammerhands was 75 tons to the Battle Axe's 70.
Little upgrade.
Made significant improvements in not only the prototype that was the Battle Axe, but stands as a refinement in concept of what a heavy mech could be. The Hammerhands is now remarkable by modern standards with 2 AC-10s, 2 medium lasers, and an SRM-6, but it was exceptionally versatile for its age.
I mean, yes, and also for its age, for what comes later, and what comes much later, it's not as good, but during the worst of the, I guess, post-Second Succession War, it would still be a very solid mech. Hell, I could think of bringing this into a much later time period and thinking of it as at least a perfectly safe option. Maybe overcosted in tonnage if we're measuring based on that instead of, C-bills, but still. I mean, I'm not a big autocannon fan. I honestly prefer the PPCs over this, the overheating thing you just deal with, but this can fire more often. 2 medium lasers, 1 SRM-6. This thing is very much, I'm going to shoot from range. If you get close, I got lasers. It's not bad, but yeah. Granted, they don't actually need that many heat sinks because, they're basically you having the biggest choice of firepower heat would be the medium lasers as opposed to the PPCs, which just, again, I'm basing this more on my playthroughs of MechWarrior 5 and the few times I have done more of the large games for Battletech. I'm very new, so it goes very slow, but it's really fun. Heat management 13 might actually be enough. As long as you're not doing something stupid. Yeah.
With jump jets and a damn good engine, it was an exceptionally mobile
still not a viable
warfighter.
product.
It was versatile and calculated to be handsomely priced if mass-produced. Most importantly, it was an improvement over existing products. The Hammerhands was later a test bed for early C3 systems and developed the value of network battle spaces in the field of battle.
Oh, they networked?
Which stands,
I mean, it makes sense, but I didn't realize that.
Development and far ahead of its time. And from the shadows, StarCorps had been watching the whole time, no doubt offering to help them with this evaluation project.
And stealing design to make something that works better, easier, faster, and cheaper.
Of course, had access to the very best in technology and engineering through its sister office. It was clear that StarCorps smelled profit, and instead of waiting for the customer to figure it the fuck out, they jumped right in on a third design, drawing directly from lessons observed by the Davion Field Office and its partnership with the Davion military. The idea was, what if StarCorps could take the hard-earned lessons from Ashnar's 2 pretty good attempts at making a heavy mech, refine it, and sell it to everyone, so they could finally have enough money to stop caring about things like petty morality. And ladies and gentlemen, that's exactly what StarCorps did.
What does he mean, enough money to stop caring about morality? What are they about to do after this? Because that's one of those lines you don't add unless something absolutely fucked up is going to happen. I mean, that's... Their next mech is like basically going to fire babies, isn't it?
In applied
yes, I gotta love the baby cannon.
One maxim above all others.
If this was 40K, that wouldn't be a joke.
Is perfect.
But
and while the Davions were lost in the weeds, nobly trying to figure out yet another iteration of an optimal perfect mech that may never be at whatever cost they could put on it, Starcore rolled up their sleeves, grabbed that idea, and ran to the fucking bank.
And this is where I'm going to cut this one because I actually need to go get my car taken to the shop, and I forgot what time it is because recording early in the morning was a great idea. I made a mistake here. This is on me. Also, because I figured, the intermission's a good place to stop, I can save this now for the next really what the hell day, and I just go, yeah, no, this makes sense. It's going to be funny because usually the intermissions are really cool and also sometimes include random videos that Tex and Mike and everyone else involved in the Black Pants Legions throws in, and they're weird as, well, just really weird. And it's fun, but also inducing. Yeah, I actually look forward to it in a weird kind of effed up way, but it's also really fun still. Yeah, I'm like that, I realize. So yeah, thanks for watching, everyone. You guys know the deal. There's a link below to the original video. Now more than ever, hit that up because Tex, everyone at the Black Pants Legion, they're recovering from the hack. Going to the channel, hitting the links, it will help. Please do that. And I'll see you guys in the next one. Adios.